What is up, guys? It's your girl Antoinette back with another video, and today's video is something I've been really excited and kind of nervous to share on my channel. But I thought, like, this is my channel, I'm of age, and I can finally talk about things that I want to, which a big part of that is my coming out story. And of course that means obviously that your girl is gay. In order to tell my coming out story, I'm gonna have to go from like the beginning until today, which is me making this video. So I thought we should do that. And to those that didn't know, surprise. Is it that much of a surprise coming from me? But let's get right into that video. But so we're gonna probably start with the earliest I can remember, or like signs of being gay that I didn't really register in my head because I was too young. But I think we can go back to when I was like 5, and we all know Miss Honey was like the first crush you could ever have, Miss Honey from Matilda. And I pretty much think I was obsessed with her back then, like not stan material, but also like being incredibly enraptured by this sweet, cute young lady on this movie, and how she was so different from Miss Trunchbull, I think her name was. I haven't seen Matilda in years, but I think Miss Honey was like the first moment where I was like, ooh, she's nice. So then we're gonna go and talk about the big leagues, which I mean like that is when I started like watching more adult shows. So I'm gonna say my first real crush had to be Alyssa Milano, and I know a lot of people don't like her like right now, but I still am pretty much in love with her because she is like, I feel like she's the epitome of a sweet, hardworking woman. And back then she was playing Phoebe on Charmed, so that was pretty much the show that I watched like religiously, back and forth between episodes, and always admiring her and what she was about. So back then I used to think it was just like, ooh, she's my favorite actress, I really like her. But then I was like, oh, like looking back on it, that was me really just having a huge crush on Alyssa Milano. Of course, comes next is the nanny, aka Fran Drescher. And I don't know, it was more like she had some bomb outfits in that show, so I don't know, it was just me kind of paying attention to her. And then I did ship Fran and Mr. Sheffield because they were the cutest couple, I'm not gonna lie. But I always like would imagine myself, even at the ages of like 6, 7, and 8, I would imagine myself in that scenario and being able to marry Fran. Sadly that didn't happen. Obviously I'm here, but I think I just overlooked it because it didn't seem that serious to me. I didn't understand it. And then you would have the family members that would kind of like make gay jokes, and I still didn't understand it even then, like what that actually meant or entailed. Because for the most part, when people talk about being gay or like noticing that someone is gay, they're usually talking about boys and kind of belittling and being very homophobic towards boys. And so I knew that that's what it meant, where it was 2 boys, but I didn't think like 2 girls. That was impossible, like that didn't make sense. So I didn't really pay much attention to it. But I think now that I look back, there was a lot of people around me that were very homophobic, even though you still wouldn't understand it, because even at that age I didn't really know what liking the same sex was. So it was really me just being unaware of things. But I mean I was always like knowing that I did think that girls were like heaven on earth. So we can go to the first girl that I kissed. This is probably like giving her identity away, but there was a girl in my neighborhood who I used to hang out with a lot. I think she was the first girl I kissed at like 9, and I think she was like 8, and we used to hang out a lot. So that was kind of the moment for me where I was like, ooh, this is kind of nice. It didn't seem any different. I knew we would get in trouble because we were kids kissing, not because we were like 2 girls kissing, if that makes sense. So I didn't, once again, pay much attention to that. And so I was still obsessing over Alyssa Milano. I was still basically watching every single thing with Alyssa in it. That was a pivotal moment, being able to, I guess, feel that. Is that an accurate description? I don't know. But then let's kind of fast forward, because nothing really happened between like 3rd and 5th grade, because once again, I didn't really realize it. Like, I knew, but I didn't realize what it meant. Like, I didn't know what it meant. So there was a girl in my 6th grade like class that came out as bisexual, and I was like, I don't even know what this means. I'm 12. What is that? Like, everyone around me, like all the other students, were talking about it, and I was like, that makes 0 sense. I don't know. I don't even know what that word literally means. Like, what does it mean? And one of my friends were like, it means that she likes boys and girls. And then, I kid you not, it was like a light bulb went off in my head, because I was like, oh, that's interesting. So like, she became really interesting to me because she was able to say that even at 12, that she liked both boys and girls. And then there's me, who didn't really have a preference for anything. I was just like living life and admiring Alyssa Milano, and then admiring boys like Chris Brown. So it was like, ooh, so she's really interesting. I never really talked to her at school or even at home, but it was like I admired her from far away. Like, she was brave enough at 12, like I said, to come out and say that. So it was like, for me, she was kind of my hero, and I really wish I remembered her name, because I would love to contact her and be like, hey, you really helped me in realizing that I did like girls. I'm thirsty. And with me coming out and like talking about it now, I don't think I've ever really had somebody to like delve deep into this conversation with. So what better way than to like talk about it on YouTube, because I think there's a lot of videos that I watched before that kind of helped me, so why not do that? So that was a pivotal moment for me, that 6th grade moment when I learned what it meant to be bisexual. So I'm not gonna say like that was the moment that I knew that I for sure like girls, but it was like me realizing that that could happen, like that is something that happens. And growing up in a religious family, that, I don't know, I guess I wasn't paying too much attention in church back then, because I didn't think it was wrong, and I still don't, but it's like I wasn't paying much attention to it, but I did admire her from far away. So I think 7th grade, there was a new teacher in my class, or like there was a new teacher teaching our English class, and I quickly like became obsessed with her, as lesbians do. She was really nice, she was really caring, and she was really pretty. So I feel like I gravitated towards her because she, first of all, was teaching my favorite subject. She knew a lot about what I was interested in terms of school, like, and then she was pretty. So I think she was my first real life person crush, if you get what I'm saying. Like, she wasn't on TV, she wasn't an actress or a celebrity that I could have no contact with back then. So I pretty much did everything I could to be able to talk to this teacher. I remember I would start like writing her letters. They weren't inappropriate, like I was too scared to be inappropriate, but it was like me just telling her about my life, and she really became like a mentor in that year that I did have her as a teacher, because she was so understanding and caring. So like I never came out to her per se, but I do realize that like I was as head over heels as a 7th grader could get, if that makes sense. For me, I guess I was too much of a tomboy. I can insert pictures here of like the way I dressed back then. I was still interested in boys, or I guess I was pushing myself to be more interested in boys. Seeing like the other girls in school that already had boyfriends or had already like been to parties and played 7 Minutes in Heaven. Oh, That was a tragic game that I never participated in, but everybody else participated, and I was like, oh, why am I not interested in games like this, or why am I not interested in the boys at my school? Yeah, so I don't know. I don't think I didn't figure it out until high school, aka being like 14. I still didn't acknowledge it. It wasn't that I was ashamed, it's just that I wasn't interested in dating anybody at that age. So I still have my little crushes and everything, but I wasn't interested in like actively pursuing anybody. So in 10th grade, my best friend, she came out to me as, I think she said she was bisexual at the time, but I think she switched it up. So when she came out to me, it kind of set off an alarm with me. So like, for 2 weeks, I really stopped talking to her. I stopped being her friend. I was basically the poster child for gay panic, or maybe even homophobic gay panic. So like, I didn't want to talk to her. I didn't want to engage in any sort of conversation with her anymore after she came out. And I think a part of that was because she also did tell me. That was me kind of like panicking myself and not realizing that I was just as much of a lesbian as she was. So yeah, I didn't want to admit it, and I didn't talk to her for about 2 weeks. I remember she, I think, was the first person I came out to that was like outside of my family. So I think we were talking one day, and I apologized to her about my behavior because I knew that I wasn't being like the best friend that I could be. And then we were friends again, and this is where I messed up, because I feel like after that moment I wasn't afraid to talk to her about who I liked or who I was attracted to. And this is where you're gonna find like my middle-aged woman kink. This is where that came through. So I had a teacher named, let's call her Mrs. Brooks. So Mrs. Brooks, I definitely hated her throughout my algebra class in 10th grade. And there was one day I was at my dad's house, and I was on the phone with my best friend, and I remember talking about Miss Brooks, and I don't know if that was like an indication to what I did like, but I guess I was being I think I made a comment like, I totally do her or something like that. And at the time, I didn't think anybody was like listening because I was on the phone and my parents were like in a different room, so it didn't register to me that anybody was listening, but I guess they were. And I guess I didn't want to be too careful about it. Like, it wasn't a big deal to me, even though I knew like my parents' stance on homosexual couples and homosexual people in general. So at that time I wasn't really being careful about like my low-key secret crush on Mrs. Brooks. Even though I hated her and the way she graded, it was like she was still pretty cute to me. I think after that was when I realized, oh snap, I really do like girls. There's no way to hide it. I mean, obviously you can, but there's no way for me to keep denying it and for me to like feel bad about it. I don't think I ever felt ashamed. I think I just felt scared for the most part, because there was a time when my mother expressed that she didn't approve of it because she is such like a religious lady. So I think I kind of backed up a little bit and only talked about it with my best friend, but our phone conversations became longer, and that was that. Like, we never pursued any kind of relationship, but she was like who I would go to in terms of like having to come out and say things like that. So I found Google messages, like my old messages and Google photos, and a big one was a conversation between my stepmom. And I think I was feeling really sad that day about something. I can't tell you what it was, but I was like texting my stepmom for support, telling her that I was really sad, and she's like, anything you have to tell me, you can come out and say it. And this is where I know, like, I'm not good at being, I guess, in the closet, because she was like, anything that you have to say, you can just tell me. I'll still love you anyway. And I was like, I don't think I can. Me at, what is this, 16? I don't think I can say it. And she was like, well, how about I just ask you a question and you can say yes or no? And I already knew at that point that she was aware, but I didn't know how much she knew. That is when she asked me, she was like, do you like girls? And I remember throwing my phone like across the room, and I was like, how does she know? Like, very confused on, I guess, her being able to pick up on that. But then I was like, does everybody know? Like, am I that obvious with it? And then I look at my behavior now and I'm pretty obvious. Like, I don't hide it anymore. But that was like the moment where I could finally be myself in front of someone. And I was like, yeah. And I didn't want to read her messages after because I was so like afraid of rejection, I guess, and her not wanting to talk to me anymore. She was like, I still love you, I support you. And she was like, but your dad is a different story. I think that was the end of that. And then 1 year, there's a thing on social media, I don't know if it's like celebrated outside of social media, but it was called National Coming Out Day. And that's when you come out to family members, I guess. It's like, it's not forcing you to, but it's there to do it. So I think I was 18 when I finally approached it with my dad through text, and I was like, hey, I'm bisexual. That means I like both boys and girls, and this is my truth, and I just wanted to tell you, and I wanted you to hear it from me officially. And this doesn't mean, I think I put emphasis on the fact that I was still me. And so like, I once again threw my phone across the room and like didn't want to see what he texted back. But then he texted me back and he was like, oh, okay, I already knew, which I knew he already knew, but he was like, oh, okay, I already knew. He was like, it doesn't matter what anybody else says, and you're an adult, so you can make your own choices. And he was like, he said F what anybody else has to say. And I feel like a big weight was kind of lifted off my shoulders, because I still didn't want to approach it with my very religious mom, but I knew that my dad was in my corner now, so he had your girl's back. And I think that was a big part of me. That was big for my development, I guess. So yeah. I never came out to my mother, even though my brother knows. Like 99.9% of my family knows, except for like my mom. But I feel like she has an inkling, like all of my family, because I don't really hide it. So I promised myself before that when I come to college, I'm not gonna hide it. I'm gonna talk about it like I talk to all of my friends. If I like a girl, I'm gonna tell you. If I like a boy, I'm gonna tell you. It's just that I don't feel like I should have to hide anymore. And that's why I kind of wanted to record this video, even though my friends will tell you that I was really afraid to do that and to record it and post it on the internet. But it's out now and I'm happy about it. Yeah, that's basically it. I need to take some Dayquil and maybe watch some more Charmed to make googly eyes at Alyssa Milano. So I'll see you next video.